Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to join the Gender Summit virtually this year. Many thanks to our host, Dr. Hee Young Pick, and to Elizabeth Polliser and other members of the organizing committee for the invitation to speak. I'd also like to thank my fellow Canadian, Janice Bailey, for moderating this virtual session. At Canada's International Development Research Centre, we're very proud of our past engagements with gender summits in recent years. We view this as a key moment for sharing our progress and learning from you and others about yours. This year, Canada's IDRC celebrates our 50th anniversary. Canada established the IDRC in 1970 as part of the foreign affairs and international assistance efforts, with a mandate to fund research in developing countries to promote growth, reduce poverty, and drive large scale positive change. Today, this mandate is as pertinent as ever, as is the importance of ensuring that the research is led by local researchers and used by local stakeholders in the global south for sustainable and inclusive solutions to entrenched and emerging development challenges, be they pandemics, rising inequalities, or climate change. As part of this work, IDRC is very focused on expanding opportunities for women to play a lead role in research, science, and innovation, and to ensure that research addresses the deep societal and structural root causes of gender discrimination and inequality. Let me give you two broad efforts that IDRC is working on with respect to increasing women's representation in science. Research supported by IDRC has underscored the many challenges that women face in careers in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. While the share of women at the graduate level in many scientific disciplines has increased in many countries globally, including in the global south, women are not well represented as professors, principal investigators, and members of national science academies in many countries. In other words, women are systematically underrepresented in the decision-making corridors of science, missing out on opportunities to lead research projects, to advise their governments on issues of national priority, and to mentor future generations of scientists. Research has shown that targeted measures are needed to advance the careers of female scientists from poorer countries and from marginalized communities in particular in order to reverse this trend. So, two examples. We are collaborating with the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, hosted by UNESCO, to support 60 early career women scientists by December 2021. During this 2-year fellowship, the scientists undertake a major project, they build their leadership, management, and communication skills, and they are networked with leaders in industry and the public sector to help them scale their research and increase their influence. They can then become really strong role models for the next generation of women leaders in STEM. Of the women scientists already being supported by the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World and IDRC, 18 of them are working in Asia. Let me give you an example. Nimanti Jayatilaka is a professor in the Department of Chemistry at the University of Kelaniya in Sri Lanka. She is leading a team of researchers to identify molecular markers of the dengue virus to predict severe cases of disease. As many of you will know, dengue is a very important disease worldwide with burden in the millions of people exposed and at risk to this disease. Her research will help contribute to new ways of developing vaccines and treatments, not only for Sri Lanka, but also more generally across these affected areas. In a second example, we funded 11 projects that are breaking barriers to women in STEM. Some of these are focused on measuring gender gaps in academia, clean tech, and other technology sectors. One team in sub-Saharan Africa is studying the factors that shape the advancement of women in lead academic leadership roles. And finally, some of the projects are analyzing stories of success. Professor Sudha Narayanan of the Indira Gandhi Institute for Development Research in Mumbai is leading research to understand what led to the feminization of the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in India. Currently, there, women now outnumber men among students and teaching staff. Better understanding how this success story came about will help perhaps propel similar changes in other universities in India and elsewhere. Let me turn now to the question of how gender considerations are an important dimension in STEM research. Women are often left behind in taking advantage of new technologies, and more efforts to consider gender inequality in the research can turn this around. Let me illustrate from our livestock vaccine innovation work. This ambitious program, co-funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Global Affairs Canada, and IDRC, is looking for breakthrough solutions to neglected diseases of livestock that affect poor farmers, particularly women smallholders in developing regions, and seeking innovative solutions to scale and deploy those solutions for these groups. Women smallholder farmers often keep livestock. They generally own and are responsible for the smaller animals such as poultry and swine, and will carry out a lot of the work with dairy cows. In many cases, these animals represent a significant asset for women to be sold in times of need, such as covering school costs and healthcare costs. Smallholders are badly affected by losses due to infectious diseases, some of which have relatively affordable prevention solutions like vaccines and medicines, and others for which there is not yet any of these kinds of solutions. And this is what the program is focused on addressing. However, developing these solutions, these technologies in a vacuum without considering who will use them may lead to those solutions not having the desired impact. Women tend to have less access than men to key inputs in decision making about their livestock, such as vaccines, and they have limited access to information and decision making around how to use these. For more on this, I recommend an excellent book by current and former IDRC colleagues Jemima Njuki and Pascal Sanginga, which is available on IDRC's digital library, open access and free. It's called Women, Livestock Ownership and Markets, Bridging the Gender Gap in Eastern and Southern Africa. This gender gap has important implications for livestock vaccine research and development. If the products are going to meet the needs of women livestock owners, we need more evidence and understanding these gender dynamics, and we need more data on what works to empower women smallholders to improve their access and uptake to vaccines and other technologies. 4 projects that IDRC is funding are currently working to fill these gaps. Spanning 5 sub-Saharan countries and Nepal, the projects are part of the program I spoke about just a minute ago. One of these projects in Nepal highlights the importance of intersectionality in this kind of research. In Nepal, men's outmigration from rural to urban areas has contributed to the feminization of agriculture so that women are involved and leading now in almost every aspect of agriculture, including all livestock work. About 80% of Nepal's livestock production is at this smallholder level, and now increasingly led by women. However, women in Nepal, like in many other countries, tend to be absent from the upper levels of expertise and services that are designed to deliver those animal health services. Factoring in the caste system in Nepal is also important. Although the caste system has been officially abolished, there are still strong social strata in Nepalese society. This means that in most paid occupations, including the veterinary and animal health fields, women are essentially absent, and particularly women from these lower strata of society. Cooperatives are a very important aspect of women's empowerment in Nepal and for women smallholders. However, even in this aspect, women from the lower social strata of society are underrepresented in these cooperative groups. As a result, women from these lower strata have this double obstacle in accessing animal health care and vaccines for their animals, and therefore have bigger losses than other women and men. By accounting for both gender and this intersectionality of the exclusion of these women, the project is mapping the distribution chains for small ruminant and poultry vaccines in Nepal. It's also working to improve the capacity of vaccine and animal health service providers by increasing their awareness of these exclusionary factors. This should help improve access and use of these tools by women across all levels of Nepalese society. So, in conclusion, gender equality and inclusion are key considerations in STEM fields, both in terms of strengthening participation of women in these fields as well as in how the research is conducted. Gender equality and inclusion are at the center of IDRC's efforts in bringing knowledge, innovation, and solutions from the global south to bear on not only challenges in those countries, but the global agenda for sustainable development and the SDGs, and to build together a more inclusive and sustainable world. Transforming gender relations in science requires targeted investments in women's training and leadership development, and it requires us to do a better job of integrating gender considerations in STEM research. At IDRC, we're committed to growing our efforts and amplifying the impacts of this work. Thanks for your attention today. It's been a pleasure. Over to you, Janice.